A fierce battle in the Pacific and one of the most iconic images ever produced were the inspiration behind this 1-ounce silver proof. And today we're going to go over the story and the coin, so stay tuned. Hey YouTube, how the heck are ya? Welcome to another edition of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack, episode number 77, which ironically is the same number of years since the Battle of Iwo Jima, 77. As always, I'd like to thank you for taking a few minutes out of your day to check out the new video, and if you'd like to help support this channel, then why not click on that thumbs up, comment down below, and subscribe if you haven't already done so. All those actions really help to promote the channel, and you know I humbly appreciate the support. So, as if Marine Corps boot camp wasn't hard enough, we also had to learn the history of the Corps and the many battles that Marines were involved in. We went through these classes on very little sleep, trying to learn and pay attention, praying that we didn't nod off and get neck slapped by a drill instructor. But most of us managed to stay awake, and in the process, well, we learned about the incredible legacies of those Marines before us who forged a path of incredible bravery and sacrifice. It made our blood absolutely boil with pride, and it gave us affirmation that we had joined an incredible branch of the U.S. Armed Forces. Now, that being said, I have the utmost respect for all branches and for all who served, so don't think I'm saying one is better than the other. I'm not. That's all for the historians to bandy over, not me. I made my choice of joining the Corps, and I would do it again and again without hesitation. But anyway, join me now in a quick story about the incredible Battle of Iwo Jima and how it inspired an amazing 1-ounce silver proof coin that I'll show you at the end. Hoorah, and let's roll!
450 United States Navy ships stood off a tiny island in the Pacific. Few Americans had heard of the place. It measured 4 2/3 miles by 2.5 miles, ash-covered beaches, and one extinct unknown volcano. A command was passed to the ships: land the landing force. No one, not even you, the Marines and Navy corpsmen who stepped ashore from the Amtraks at 2 minutes after 9, knew that what you were about to do would forever enshrine the island, Iwo Jima, and the volcano Mount Suribachi in American history. Today, Iwo Jima is remembered with other names like Saratoga, the Alamo, Gettysburg. Remembered not simply because Americans were again conspicuously gallant in battle, but because our sons were called upon to endure unspeakable hardship for the sake of freedom. Your flag raising at Mount Suribachi remains a beacon, indeed a birthright for America's young people and for every future American. On behalf of all Americans, we salute today the men of Iwo.
So where exactly is Iwo Jima? Well, it's located southeast of mainland Japan and just east of Okinawa. And the Battle of Iwo Jima took place from 19 February to 26 March 1945. It was considered a major battle in which the U.S. Armed Forces fought for and captured the island of Iwo Jima from the Japanese Empire. The American invasion had the goal of capturing the whole island, including its airfields, to provide a staging area for attacks on the Japanese main islands. The two leaders pitted against each other were Harry Schmidt, commander of the Marine Landing Force, and Tamadichi Kurabayashi, commander of the Japanese garrison. The Japanese army positions on the island were heavily fortified with a dense network of bunkers, hidden artillery positions, and roughly 11 miles of tunnels that they had dug out. The American ground forces were supported by extensive naval artillery and had complete air supremacy provided by U.S. Navy and Marine Corps aviators throughout the battle. The 5-week battle saw some of the fiercest and bloodiest fighting of the Pacific War. Of the 21,000 Japanese soldiers on Iwo at the beginning of the battle, only 216 were taken prisoner. Most of the remainder were killed in action, but it's estimated that as many as 3,000 continued to resist within the cave systems. for many days until they were eventually captured or they succumbed to their injuries. And though ultimately victorious, the American victory at Iwo Jima had come at a terrible price. According to official records, the 36-day assault resulted in more than 26,000 American casualties, including 6,800 dead. 2 U.S. Marines were captured during the battle, neither of whom survived their captivity. The USS Bismarck Sea was lost, and it would be the last U.S. aircraft carrier sunk in World War II. Also, the USS Saratoga was so severely damaged that she no longer took part in either combat or transportation duties for the rest of the war. She ended up becoming a training ship. In hindsight, given the number of casualties, the necessity and long-term significance of the island's capture to the outcome of the war became a contentious issue, and it pretty much remains disputed today. Ironically, and I never understood this, the Marines who suffered the actual casualties were never even consulted in the planning of the operation. That's unbelievable to me. And even as early as April 1945, retired Chief of Naval Operations William Pratt stated in a magazine article that, considering the expenditure of manpower to acquire a small, God-forsaken island, useless to the Army as a staging base, and useless to the Navy as a fleet base, one wonders if the same sort of airbase could not have been reached by acquiring other strategic localities at a lower cost. And as it turns out, the island was never a hugely significant strategic location used by Japan, nor did it turn out to be useful to American forces, as the strategy after Iwo had changed, and there wasn't much of a need for Iwo's airstrips after all. To me, it was just another case of American lives being sacrificed for a stretch of land that actually wasn't needed. Now, that being said, nothing will ever take away from the accomplishments of those who landed and fought on Iwo Jima. Now, the battle was ultimately immortalized by Joe Rosenthal's photograph of the raising of the U.S. flag on top of the 545-foot Mount Suribachi by 5 U.S. Marines and 1 U.S. Navy battlefield hospital corpsman. The photograph actually recorded the second flag raising on the mountain. A lot of people don't know that. Both raisings that took place on the 5th day of the 35-day battle. Rosenthal's photograph promptly, and I mean immediately, became an indelible icon of that battle, of that war in the Pacific, and of the Marine Corps itself. The photograph was extremely popular and had been reprinted in thousands of publications. Later, it became the only photograph to win the Pulitzer Prize for photography in the same year as its publication, and ultimately it came to be regarded as one of the most significant and recognizable images of the war, and quite possibly the most reproduced photograph of all time. 3 of the 6 Marines depicted in the photograph, Sergeant Michael Strank, Corporal Harlan Block, and Private First Class Franklin Sousley, were killed in action 5 days after the flag raising. Surviving flag raiser Private First Class Ira Hayes, together with Private First Class Renee Gagnon, and Navy Hospital Corpsman Pharmacist Mate Second Class John Bradley, became celebrities on their participation in a war bond selling tour after the battle. Now, this is where it gets interesting. 3 subsequent Marine Corps investigations into the identities of the 6 men in the photograph determined in May and June 2016 that John Bradley was not in the photograph and Private First Class Harold Schultz was. John Bradley was actually involved with the first flag raising, not the second. And in 2019 it determined that Renee Gagnon was not in the photograph, but Private First Class Harold Keller was. And to their credit, neither man felt it was necessary to gain publicity by correcting the error, and both moved on with their lives after their service. But let's go back to that first raising of the flag. As it went up, Secretary of the Navy James Forrestal had just landed on the beach at the foot of Mount Suribachi, and lo and behold, just like an officer, he decided that he wanted the flag as a souvenir. Typical. Colonel Johnson, the battalion's commander, believed that the flag belonged to the 2nd Battalion, 28th Marines, who had actually captured that section of the island, and I agree with that. In the early afternoon, Johnson sent a runner from his battalion for E Company to take a larger flag up the volcano to replace the smaller and less visible flag. The replacement flag was attached to another heavier section of water pipe, and 6 Marines proceeded to raise it into place as the smaller flag was taken down and delivered to the battalion's headquarters below. It was during the second flag raising that Joe Rosenthal took his exceptionally famous photograph of raising the flag on Iwo Jima. So what ultimately happened to those two flags? Well, today both flags from the first and second raisings are now located in the National Museum of the Marine Corps, which is located in Quantico, Virginia. You can look at the second one here in the picture, and you can see the wind damage that it sustained from being at the top of Mount Suribachi. Both flags will be there forever as a tribute to the brave men who conquered Iwo Jima. Alright, so let's take a quick close-up of this coin. First of all, it came in a nice, really nice presentation box. Love the color of that. Bradford Exchange, yeah, I get it. I normally loathe everything about Bradford Exchange. I think they're overpriced. But I did not buy this from Bradford. I actually got this on eBay at a really reduced cost from what it first came out at. And here it is. Beautiful coin. Absolutely beautiful coin. It is a 75th anniversary, so it was back in 2020. It's a silver proof with Iwo Jima sand. If you look right here beneath the Jima, there is actually a little oval, little circular mound that has actual sand from Iwo Jima, black volcanic sand. It's pretty cool. Obviously, you've got the flag raising here. You've got the dates on the bottom right. You've got your 1 ounce silver. And the back isn't all that exciting, but it's actually, I like what they did here. It's a common phrase that was associated with Iwo Jima. And it's among the Americans serving on Iwo Island. Uncommon valor was a common virtue. And that was by none other than Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. Semper Fidelis means always faithful. So I really, I'm glad I picked this up. I did not pay all that much for it, all things considered. And I love anything Marine Corps, so this was right up my alley. But there you have it. 1 ounce proof coin, Iwo Jima. Alright, if you made it this far, kudos to you. Hope you enjoyed that quick run through one of the most difficult battles of World War II. This video could have been a lot longer, trust me. I hated to even abbreviate it the way I did, but you know, we all know that attention spans aren't what they used to be, and history doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. But look, quick plug. If you're ever in the Quantico, Virginia area, I do highly recommend visiting the Marine Corps Museum. You don't have to be a former Marine. You don't have to be former service. Just be somebody who appreciates history and the sacrifices that were made by all who were there. Both flags that flew over Mount Suribachi are there. They're currently showing, and it's a fantastic experience. You can literally feel history a few feet from where you stand. And that's going to close out this 77th episode of the Silver and Gold Stack Attack. I'll be coming back at you with a new video soon, so until then, you know what to do. Hoorah! Get stacked. Stay safe, folks. I am out of here. Peace, people.